I was raised LDS, so around the time that I graduated high school, the conversation started to come up. I wasn't really on track for it necessarily. I had kind of different ideas of what I wanted to do. Definitely wanted to do military. I was looking at the Marine Corps at the time, and that. But again, the family influence, and also just all my friends were LDS. There was a girl I was talking to at the time. She was LDS. She kind of played a big role in that as well, and it's pretty much kind of the start of the path, I guess. Being a missionary, it was cool. A lot of hard work. It felt very business-like. It felt like I was doing a lot of sales, kind of a little bit. Only we were not selling anything. It was just trying to start discussions about religion, belief, and all that, and then just sharing that message with everybody who would listen. Planning was probably like one of the major focuses while you're out on a mission. Keeping schedules, appointments, things like that, all of that played a role. I was assigned to the Wisconsin-Milwaukee mission that kind of took 2/3 of the eastern side of the state, as well as the upper peninsula of Michigan, I believe, working with missionaries who were from literally all over the place, in some instances like from the complete opposite side of the planet. So it's really cool. I enjoyed all the areas that I worked. I was all over Wisconsin. So, and I had remembered a gentleman that we were working with when I was first there, and he didn't really have much interest in the church at the time we met him. We were like one of the first times missionaries had reached out to him in a long time, and I came back tracking him down, and we found him, and he had made quite a bit of progress and change in his life from the first time that I met him. He was going to church like regularly, and he had just turned his whole life around. And it was so interesting because the first time I had met him, he had no real desire to go back to church, and his reasons were very valid as to why. I could even understand that as a missionary at the time. So to me, that was a very special moment, because it was going back to that first area that I worked in as a more experienced older missionary, remembering what it was like to be new, as new as the guys that I was taking out with me into my old area while their trainers were away. And that whole time, I could see the growth that had taken place with my journey, and I was excited for these new guys to also go through that for themselves, and also just checking back in with the people that I was working with when I was brand new, and just seeing how much had changed from the first time I was there. All that work that I put into planning and writing things down, taking notes, all of the effort that I put into my mission academic wise, I guess, that stuff has stayed with me. And the application of those tools that I had as a missionary, I mean, this is like over 10 years later, I'm still using that stuff, and it's still highly beneficial. And having 2 years of just repeating that process, refining it, and just making it better and better and better, and then coming back into, I guess, real world, and then using that in the real world, I realized like, wow, this is an incredible skill that I feel like that by itself, if everything else of my mission didn't really mean much, that is probably the most successful thing that I took away for myself. A lot of the lifestyle has changed for me, but a lot of the things that I learned as a missionary have stayed with me. But definitely that connection with my Heavenly Father, praying, letting him know how my day's going, letting him know my concerns. It's almost like this form of meditation and therapy that you can do if you put in the work on that kind of stuff. It benefits you. Do I miss being a missionary and wearing a suit and tie every day and having like all of that structure and strictness and obedience and rules and things like that? There's a benefit to that. I don't miss it. I don't. But I miss being a missionary in the sense of like having so much focus on like a very specific thing. Coming back into the world, and especially with like these things, So much of my time and energy, for whatever reason, is so tied to my phone and tied to um, technology. And if there's one thing I miss, it is disconnecting and being away from all that as a missionary, because you are kind of in a box of, you're not really a part of anything. You're in the world, but you're not really like participating in it. You're literally have like an outside the box perspective. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, actually. I'm trying to restructure my life and, my use of technology and stuff. And I've been reverting back to my mission experience to try and like make some adjustments to my life, because I remember what it was like to be a missionary, and there's a lot of fulfillment in that. But when we would go out as missionaries and speak with people and be teaching them, we were a lot of the time listening to them talk about their problems, and we were offering solutions through the gospel to those problems that they were having. And it was working when they would use it. It was working when I would use it. So that kind of stuff, I see like it is so much more than just like walking around with the Book of Mormon and being like, read this and be baptized, please. It is being a kind person, being open to everybody, not trying to judge them harshly, all of that stuff. Like, just imagine how Christ would handle a situation is how I try to live my life a little bit. I'm definitely not on his level, but I can aspire to be. I can be nice to people. I could try to see them as his children, as God's children, as my brother and sister. And that works really well.